Hi, my name is David Maina. I manage a company called Profitably, which is a dairy advisory and consulting company. We wake up every day to support dairy farms in all aspects, the commercial aspects, the husbandry, to ensure that farmers get the profit they're looking for from dairy farms. And this is my story. My story is interesting because I work as a dairy expert, but actually my training background is not exactly dairy. I'm actually a business graduate in the undergraduate and postgraduate. But I have experience in dairy in practice in terms of supporting farms. And this began about 10 years ago. The last place I worked in an NGO was actually a position where I'm supposed to support dairy cooperatives in their work of collecting milk from many farmers and organizing their business with a processor so that a cooperative can be profitable. So I actually didn't have a lot of experience working with the more commercial farmers. But then while I was in that organization, a lot of communication would be seen coming from potential investors who want to go into dairy, not in the small holding level as we know it, but bigger commercial farms, asking a very specific question. Can you help me set up a farm? Can you help me with the cow barn designs? Can you train my manager? Can you train me to understand dairy? Can you support me with a management software? All those questions of somebody who is telling you basically, I have been to the government office and I couldn't get the help I'm looking for. Because at that point, the government extension system had people who had been trained from university and had an orientation of supporting the smallholders, basically people who have, say, below 5 cows at the farm. But if you begin going to 10 cows, to 50, to 100, then you had a problem. Because then you have gone beyond what they're used to, what they are trained in. So they were looking for that kind of help. And I would say, because I have this entrepreneurial mind, I began to think, what if we set up a structure? What if we set up a company, a private company, that can be able to respond to these needs? What would we need to do? First of all, I am familiar with the sector, and two, I would now have to have a people who are also trained in dairy knowledge beyond what the smallholder requires. And the whole idea of setting up a company that can respond to these needs of these potential investors in commercial level dairy is how Profitably was birthed. Getting into the dairy and working with the farmers, we perhaps had no idea what kind of work would be placed on our tables. Because we went in to support farmers to start up, but we found a lot more farmers who had begun and had struggles running their dairy. So here we have now two different kinds of clients. One is starting, and they're happy to have somebody who can handhold them. And the other one has a dairy farm, which they think should be doing better than it is doing. So they're asking you to come and check whether they're doing the right thing. And the other one is asking you, help me begin. So that basically summarizes our clientele. And what we do for them, for the person starting, is answering the question, should you start or should you not? Will it be viable? Because you don't want someone starting and closing, and we were involved in that advisory, told him it's a go, and then it goes, he burns his fingers. And then two, is also checking somebody who has started. Of course, there are those farmers which we say, the farm started, yes, but we are sorry, this farm is not viable. You may have to consider closing. No improvements would turn around this farm into a profitable farm. So in that space, we have been able to do many things, supporting farmers to start up, checking how their farms are performing, training managers, giving them softwares for managing their herds, giving them training materials, offering media programs and so on. And I think we could say that the only thing we are not doing for the dairy farms is treating animals and inseminating them. Everything else that you can think about, from structures to training, to materials, to softwares, we are involved in all that. From my own experience, I have seen a lot of wrong entries. You know, people who start because they grew up with that desire that one day they run a farm. And they don't want to do the farm the same scale or the same level that their parents were doing. They want to make it more interesting. They want to make it bigger and better. But in that process, they miscalculate. For me, I would say that anybody venturing into dairy, the first thing would be look for somebody who can be able to handhold you. And especially so if you are not having a background or expertise, significant expertise that can give you the confidence to start on your own. Look out for somebody who answers your question. Bring them to the site where you have the plan to start a dairy. Let them see the context. Let them check the surrounding. Discuss how viable that dairy is going to be. That for me is the most important. And my own experience has been anybody who started without that consultation, they face one major risk of somebody coming to the dairy after all the structures are put up, the cows have come in, managers have been employed, and unfortunately, you just tell them, I think this farm, it is going to be a lot of work for you to make it what you always intended to make it to be. A lot of things that we are currently doing for farms, starting from master planning. That's where it all begins, to set up the farm right from the word go. Then sourcing for good cows. People go wrong there a lot of times. Sourcing for managers. And for those who have sourced their own managers, training that manager just to ensure they're doing the right thing. And we are no longer just training that manager or the supervisor. We are also now doing what we call the on-farm coaching. For those workers who you employed, they have not been to school and probably they understand just the local language. We now have a way of doing it on the farm without having them to leave and go to their training area. Or they may not even be able to learn on the internet because of the language used there could be difficult for them. But we also support with the materials, the manager's handbook. That's available or electronic. It's also available as a hard copy. We are also doing benchmarking. That's a very important service. It's actually a meter that comes to your farm to be able to check the efficiency and the optimization of every activity that you're doing, from rations to the condition of the cows to the skills of the manager. Actually, we have 14 areas that we check it's a whole day activity checking. How is every activity happening in this area? And then finally, the financial assessment. If everything is going well, now let's go to the numbers. Is this farm making a profit? Could you now disclose your sales and your expenses? And you can be able to give a direction. Where are we going? How do we reduce the cost? How do we increase the revenues? That basically gives a chance for the farm to make a profit. What actually stands out again in our kind of practice in dairy is now the economics of dairy. I think there wasn't much happening around that area. A lot of people are supported in how to make cows look good, how do they feed, all those things about learning the husbandry part. But what was missing was the viability aspect, the economics, the money. Will this dairy make money? Will it not make money? So that's where we actually put our most effort in. I would like to summarize our work in 2 statements to be able to explain the kind of challenges that I see in the space that we work in. 1, people doing the wrong thing, and 2, people doing the thing wrong. I hope I'll be able to explain that very clearly. The first one, wrong thing, is that somebody who was not supposed to begin a dairy farm, and then they begin it. The wrong place, the wrong enterprise. Maybe that place was just good for something else, but they started a dairy farm. We go to check and discover that that dairy will never turn around and give a profit to that person. That's what I'm calling the wrong thing. Then the other part is people who have started, it's viable, it's the right thing. But the things they are doing in the dairy, they are doing them wrongly. So they lack information. They don't know how to do a cow barn that is going to keep the cows comfortable. They don't know what a manager is supposed to do. They don't know how the ration for the cow is supposed to be. They don't know how to manage the herd so that they can keep the key performance indicators and they can lead to success. So a lot of things going wrong in a farm that has potential to be viable. That's how I would summarize the major challenges I see, both for the person beginning and the person already operating the dairy. The consultancy and advisory space is very interesting because we want to move from just writing documents and written advisory to the farms and now focus a lot on farm support. Farm support means somebody has had an advisory, it's a go for their dairy. Can we be on the site seeing what they're doing and supporting so that they do the right thing? And basically ensuring that we can see all those farms in a system. We can see the KPIs. We can see which farm is going on the red. We can be able to respond to the call for support. I think that is what is going to be more useful, because if we use the system that where only one farm can be visited, and for me to know how the farm is doing, I have to go to this farm to the other. That takes a lot of time. I think we now have to look at how do we use our softwares, which are now available, to be able to see more farms and now be able to run on time to respond to the challenge farm or where the issue is. That's how I see that we are going to reach more numbers in our advisory and consulting services. Different from how we started, where we would just have to visit each farm and see how it is doing. Yeah, I think that is that's what the future looks like for Performata. For the 7 years that we have been in this practice, what we have observed is that the demand for knowledge is very high. People understand that they need to learn more than what they know, and that's a very good attitude. But then how do you provide this? What we have been doing, providing materials in terms of physical or tangible books, is also gathering people, the investors together, the managers together for training, face-to-face training. But this is now slowly shifting. And I think the factor of COVID-19 has also influenced this, that people want to meet less, and that is basically a regulation, as part of the control for the pandemic. And therefore, how do we avail all this information in a way that people can still access the information without having to meet? So that is the space that you're going into. And if you look at the people we reached last year, it's about 106 people who attended the physical academy. But just by putting those lessons online, we have had more than 10,000 people visiting, the ones that are free, and also the other ones that are being charged, which means that we can reach a lot more people and have this as a digital form of extension that can reach people beyond our country and wherever else that people can be able to access them. That's our new thinking about where the extension is going and how we can make a contribution as a consulting company into the knowledge world of dairy. And that's my story. That's what we do, supporting dairy investors to make a return from their dairy investments. Now, I'm eager to hear what you do within your space to support farmers, to support farming, to support the sector. Share your story.
That's not all with David. Starting next week, we embark on a value chain series with him, focusing on all things dairy. This will be on a new YouTube channel, Dairy TV. So, to all dairy farmers, investors and enthusiasts out there, look out for that channel. The link is in the comment section. Go ahead, subscribe to that one too. It's going to be very insightful. Until then, let's keep farming.